All right. Greetings. I'm back, guys. The title of this video is going to be I'm Back. Operation Wake Up to the Truth. I'm back. Dorsey's Resource. First, before we get started, I like to give a disclaimer. This video is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her homework and research regarding the matter being discussed. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. In the event you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged you do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource channel is not liable or responsible for any misuse of this information. With that being said, these are simply my thoughts and opinions on the topic. All rights are reserved. Now, let's get started. Okay, Operation Wake Up. This is like a freestyle. I know most of you guys are probably going to be asleep right now, so I was going to add Q&A in there, but as always, just to give you guys a heads up, but I see no one's in so far, so I'm going to just kind of go right into it. I have some material, some books I brought with me to work. I happen to have, I want to go over. I went over this in a previous video. This is called Masonry Beyond the Light by William Schnoebelen. When I was in college years ago, I was going to a school called Davenport University. It used to be called Detroit College of Business, and the campus used to be located in Dearborn. That's before they moved to Livonia. I was at the Dearborn campus. I graduated with my associate's degree there. I could have finished on my bachelor's, but I didn't. I was 13 classes away, but that's neither here nor there. But this book, when I was in high school, I actually, a relative took me to see William Schnoebelen in person. The original copy I had was autographed by him. This is actually a second copy. The original version in here, one of these pages, he autographed at a Bible Prophecy Club meeting that I attended some years ago, and I saw a classmate I trained with at this martial arts school that I was attending in Dearborn, Michigan at the time. Was called Academy of Martial Arts. I did Taekwondo under Richard Morrissey, and I saw a guy I fought in a tournament named Don. Don was there. He was elated to see me. He was at this meeting years ago. But I want to say, I want to go over credible information. The reason I go over these books and these documentaries and DVDs and previous videos, there's people out there. Like I had a coworker that used to work for the company I'm with. I won't say the name. And he used to say, call me conspiracy theory. And I had to nip that in the bud. Like, no, you know, the difference with me is people don't break down or not using the proper term. Theory is something that's theoretical, something that hasn't been proven. Conspiracy people, it's when people conspire. You do have people who conspire secretly, but I go over, you have a such thing as conspiracy facts and reality. And when I show these books, this is showing credibility. I have a friend that went to school in California. Thank you, Key Mars, for joining in the chat, confirming. I appreciate you. Gives confirmation. But I had a friend in California that told me, he said, at least when he watched my videos in the past, he said, at least I show books and everything. That doesn't mean he necessarily co-signs or feels like he agrees with everything I says, but he's into books and he'll do the research. He majored in a particular field, like was connected to psychology, but he took a lot of classes. He's a history buff, like 3 of my friends who are very skilled. So I just wanted to show this book to give you guys a brief rundown. It's how I connected the pieces together behind who was behind the New World Order. And I'm gonna say this book, another book I brought with me, what I'm going over, this is Children of the Matrix by David Icke. As you can see, this is an older book. I taped it up. It's pretty worn throughout the years on the side. This is what David Icke looks like, by the way, on the back. This is an older book. His new book I recommend. I haven't purchased it yet, but it's called Global Conspiracy, something to that effect. Well, it was a newer book, but he has other books, and he's a very credible researcher, and information in here in this book complements things that are going over in this book. Because what I do, part of being a good researcher, is cross-referencing information to provide validity. Because like I said, to reiterate from earlier, there'll be those out there that'll try to say, hey, Dorsey, where's your evidence at? This is not true, XYZ. And these aren't the only books. I just brought these two with me, but I just want to show evidence, validity behind what I talk about is very real, very credible. And you need to question that sometimes when people challenge you behind the validity of information. These books go over a plethora and will help you connect the pieces to a lot of information behind how the Illuminati, for example, some people are afraid to use that word, but I think it's a common word, terminology nowadays. There's numerous videos. I've talked to numerous people that said they are aware of the Illuminati. They know who they are. By now, we're in the year 2018, about to go on to 2019. So there's a saying, there's nothing new under the sun. Because I had one friend, he's like, was still afraid to use or say that word. But it's a common term. It means, you know, illuminated ones. There was really a secret organization, secret society started years ago by Adam Weishaupt. It was called the Bavarian Illuminati, based out of Bavaria, Germany, by the way. And I won't go over into all of that, but it's kind of like a pseudo term to describe elite organizations, elite people of particular bloodlines and elite secret societies that go far above Freemasons too, by the way. Freemasons, there's many different chapters too, by the way. So I'm not lumping everybody into one particular chapter, but keep in mind that Money Boy in the building. I see. What's good, fam? What's going on, Money Boy? Money Boy in the building, y'all. Big shout out to you. Kimar says elite networks. Yes, they are comprised of elite networks. There's many different secret societies, and it's like a pseudo term similar to individuals that use this term sovereign citizen movement or say sovereign citizen. That's what I meant to say. Illuminati is like an umbrella term that's used to describe elite networks at the top to connect the pieces of different secret societies, organizations, just like sororities, fraternities are a form of secret societies. Some people also refer to as chapters. Like you have different Masonic lodges, you have different chapters. You got Shriners, you got the Marcus Garvey division, it's a plethora. You got Prince Hall, you got Ancient Free and Accepted. You got, I heard from one guy I was talking to, you got a state chapter, like here in Michigan versus like Prince Hall, another chapter. You got Scottish Rite, you got York Rite. So you get where I'm kind of going with it. You got Bilderberg group, you got Davos group, which is like a daylight version of the Bilderberg group. You got Trilateral Commission, you got Council on Foreign Relations, which it ties in with, that's where it gets into the corporatocracy, into corporate CEOs and trustees of major corporations like Bilderberg. It's an annual meeting, by the way. I would recommend check out AJ's movie, I'm not saying the full name, called Endgame. Look up Endgame. It has like the color, the logo of that documentary. It was seen by a lot of people, by millions of people, by the way. And I found out, I don't know how they know this, but he mentioned on the show by some very famous people. Even the Vice President, Mike Pence, I heard, saw it. But it has like a green logo. It's called Endgame, produced by AJ, you know, that talk show host. You can't say the name anymore on YouTube. Mighty Funny, because they removed them, you know, off this censorship. But what's interesting is that there's people that do things worse and we're using a lot of profanity, but they're still on YouTube and other social media networks. I'm just saying, by the way. But AJ has woke me up years ago, because I not only watch his show, doesn't mean I co-sign everything he says, by the way. Something important to say. They're trying to get this thing where these gatekeepers are trying to lump people into one box and say you all think alike. No, everybody does not think alike. We all have different brains. Okay, some people might be into similar stuff or the same things, or may have similar ideologies, but when you boil down to it, people have different flavors, likes versus dislikes. So let me say this once again. Does not mean I co-sign everything he says, by the way, but I appreciate the information he has presented, and I've done my own research to look up what is valid, what is not. And I also will check out the mainstream media, so-called mainstream propagandist media, and compare notes versus the alternative or independent media, which I think reports on information that the so-called mainstream propagandists don't report on. And that's why I'm showing these books Once again, you can, if you're wondering where you can get this, the second copy I bought off of eBay. The original copy I had was the person who bought it never gave it back, allegedly, because I heard if so-called if you're not a member of the Freemason or the craft, you're not supposed to have these books. But that's a spookism myth too. He broke away, actually. He became a born-again Christian at the time. That's why I met him at the Prophecy Club meeting where he autographed this book for me. So I just repurchased it years later. Instead of trying to get it back from the individual, I just ended up repurchasing it. But the original version I like, because once again, I reiterate, he autographed it for me, so that kind of had sentimental value. But when people that sent the new version that I ordered off of eBay, they put a note inside saying thank you. So big shout out to those people. I don't know if they knew William personally, but it seems like they probably might have known him, or the people that were selling this, because they actually put a thank you letter in the mailing, by the way, when I received it. And this book you can look up online, maybe go to davidicke.com. You may be able to purchase it off of Amazon, but just do a search on any of these books, Yahoo, Google, whatever search engine you use, in case you're wondering where to purchase this material at. Now, some documentaries I'm going to go over offhand. I've previously mentioned in previous videos. One of them, and by the way, you can look these people up on YouTube, look up their videos. William Schnoebelen, hold it up to the camera closer so you guys can see how it's spelled, and he goes over, of course, Masonry. This is the back cover. I don't know if you guys can see the ISBN number. Maybe kind of the way the mirror is, it's reading the ISBN number. It's kind of, may look kind of flipped, but I'm just holding it up for you guys to try to locate it. As you see, this book's kind of worn, but you should be able to find it online. But the documentaries that complement these books, please check out Money Masters. Money Masters, produced by Bill Steele. Well, he played a key role from what I know. There's another documentary that he did, and you can watch these for free on YouTube. Absolutely free. But if you do have the money, I recommend, you know, please support these people. I understand some people don't have the funds, or donate to these people if you can, because some people have risked their lives putting this information out to provide credibility for people to wake up the masses, so that people have solid information that is valid. You also have this documentary Bill Steele did. This is the name of him. He did Money Masters. He was in certain parts of that. He did another one called the Secret of Oz documentary. Please check out this. It's called The Secret of Oz, based on, you know, the Wizard of Oz. It's a lot deeper than just the movie. And, you know, the movie was based off a book. By the way, from what I know offhand, I had a relative that told me years ago she used to have the book as a child, and actually they bought me like the series years ago, which I was stunned when I found that out, because I was a big fan of the movie. But the book, one of the books that was done, came out in 1914, and unlike the movie version, Dorothy had silver slippers. As you remember in the movie, she was wearing red ruby slippers, and the Wicked Witch of the West, I believe, because remember the Wicked Witch of the East, she died. If you saw the movie earlier in the movie, after Dorothy went into the dream world, whatever, from the tornado, and I won't spoil it for you guys, but it's cryptic and encoded, by the way, and it's tied in with the banking system, like even with the Federal Reserve Act. But the book that was written, when she had silver slippers, it represented when she followed the yellow brick road, that symbolized the silver following the gold out the country. And so that book was done, I believe, I don't know which version it was, don't quote me, because of course that was way before my time, early 1900s. And it was done in 1914. Thank you for confirming, Key Mars. And the Federal Reserve Act was signed in 1913, I believe. And some things didn't take place until 1933. I found out later on with the Emergency War Powers Act, when the Trading with the Enemy Act was signed in 1917. It didn't go into effect, I found out, not until 1933, because legally through contracts they had to capture every U.S. citizen and turn them into a 14th Amendment corporate juristic person. And you can look up this term. It's a legal term, juristic person. Look up N. Lingus. Look up, I did a video on this previously, screen capture, natural person, and versus person versus just the general definition, person and individual. Look up natural person, and you're going to see incorporation. What those terms mean, you want to look up person, natural person, the differences, and one of them is located in the Black's Law Dictionary. Some of the versions they removed. It says, doesn't mean that they are declared dead like a ward of the state. Does that mean that doesn't that mean they are declared dead like a ward of? Yes, I was trying to read your comment. Yes, to confirm, Key Mars. Yes, that's you got it on point. What's even deeper is with the Trading with the Enemy Act. Remember, some years ago they made a movie called Enemy of the State with Will Smith. I thought I was going to see a part 2 because I like that movie. By the way, it was real action-packed, intense. I recommend checking that out because there's some mainstream movies. They help you connect the dots. Some years ago, by the way, and you might say, what do mainstream movies have to do with this so-called conspiracy stuff? Because I know how some people think. But I understand if you're waking up for the first time, you need to be able to connect the dots. And I'm a laid-back type of guy. You know, this is why I say in your own leisure, your own free time, don't stress yourself. You know, people wake up differently. You know, I woke up on my own because I wanted to know the truth. I was an inquisitive child. My aunt used to tell me this as a little boy, because I used to ask her a lot of questions, and she said, you're very inquisitive. That's why she bought me a lot of books. One of my aunts in the family, who's down in Cleveland, Ohio right now, she's still alive as we speak, by the way, because I want to know. But I understand different people. You know, I don't want to overwhelm those out there, but just wanted to show you guys once again there are resources that are there. Movies, mainstream movies. I was going to quote years ago, there's another good documentary, check out, it's called America Freedom to Fascism by Aaron Russo. America Freedom to Fascism. It says, a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is 1,000 pictures. Okay, I get that. Okay, thank you for the quote, Key Mars. Yeah, that's why I try to show, you know, photos or images, you know, but I also want to do a live like vlog video where I'm showing my actual face. You can see an actual person, because I heard some women say some years ago they see a lot of people who talk about the Illuminati or so-called conspiracy stuff hide behind ghost accounts and they don't show a real face, and they said that messes with the credibility as far as trying to wake them up to the truth, or because they want to be able to identify someone and know that this is real. And my information too, I want to say, I try to make sure it's accurate, but I'm providing you guys the tools, just like I researched for the validity. And don't take my word for what I'm saying. This is why I do give a disclaimer. Don't take my word for nothing I say, but I'm confident if you look the books, the information up, the documentaries, you'll start to connect the dots and form a picture. Trust me, in my opinion, it will help wake you up even more. And I think it's very important, because there's people that say they're awake to the truth, but they still don't see its deeper aspect. You have to look at this microscopically. You can't just be a weekend warrior. That's what years ago when I was going to go into the military, some of the guys who were active duty full time used to tell me when I wanted to go reserve, or yeah, it was like reserve where you serve like part time. They were like, well, they were trying to encourage me, you should go full active duty, because so they had a saying where they would kind of knock or tease the guys or people who would go part time, and they would call you a weekend warrior. So I'm using that like as a metaphor, analogy. You guys get what I'm saying. But with this information, you can't be a weekend warrior. I've had this book for a number of years, and this book as well. And that's why I'm going over the information that I do to provide credibility, reputable information. So this video is solid, action-packed. Okay, let's be clear on that. I also have some notes with me. Of course, I have to have some ammunition for you guys. So I went over Money Masters with Bill Steele, the documentary he did called The Secret of the Oz. It'll complement this information very well. You can watch for free on YouTube, but once again, to reiterate, you do have the funds, the money to donate. It would be great courtesy to help these people out, because many of them have risked their lives. If you find other people as well, it's important. The way they fought in some instances to get this information out there. Another good documentary you can watch for free, absolutely free. It's called Ring of Power, Empire of the City on YouTube. There's different versions that's cut up, but there was a long version that came up. And these are some older documentaries that some guys may not know about. And if you can, get a video software to download these documentaries so you'll have them as a reference. It's called Ring of Power, Empire of the City. I recommend, because you don't know, we can't say for sure with all the censorship going on of YouTube. I heard rumors that they're going to try to remove all these documentaries. So, you know, get them, archive them, store them, put them on thumb drives, find out that special plastic, you put them inside, bury them so you have it archived so you can share it down the road with your children, your great-grandchildren, your aunties, your nieces, your nephews, to spread the word and wake them up to the truth. Operation Wake Up. I also went over Endgame by AJ as well. I'm not going to say because YouTube acts funny with the new algorithm thing. Kemar says, thanks, I will check it out. Thank you. Let me know too, give me an update in case you guys, you know, you do check it out, you get a chance. That's greatly appreciated, because I learn things from you all as well. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not narcissistic where I know everything. I've learned from you guys as well. So this is why it's open, you know, also open forum. You all have questions, you know, feel free to chime in. That's why I do try to read the comment section, the chat section. So went over a lot of information. These books, I won't go as in depth, but they will explain to you how they infiltrated agriculture, religion, education, entertainment, news media, sports, banking, the medical industry, military, you name it. Like when Bilderberg has that meeting every year, they go over, they recruit in the top trustees and people from tech giant companies from all around the world, big CEOs of corporations too. But in this book, I want to go show real quick, and this is in page 303. Ike, he shows this chart right here where this, you can see this pyramid. I'm holding it up to the camera real quick so you guys can see as he goes over the social services, police, lawyers, judges, politicians, media, community leaders, medical profession, religious organizations. He's showing you this pyramid. So just like I'm going over this chart, this is on page 303. So he's going over like how they infiltrated these different organizations and how they used also the craft. Says that's a clear depiction. Thank you. And they use people mainly from this organization, you know, and research the emblems and stuff on the back of people's cars and where you can purchase it online and different things of that nature. I won't get into some years back how I learned this information. I already kind of mentioned that, but this is evidence that there's books out there, and all of these books aren't officially where you have to officially be a member. There's a plethora of many books. Borders Books actually sold this book at one time before they went out of business. Barnes and Noble is another store that carries some of his books, and there are some actually brick and mortar Barnes and Nobles that are still around, by the way. And this was at the time was $29.95 or whatever, but you know, it's older now, so you may be able to find the cheaper version, but it's you guys' option, because I'm not promoting anybody in particular. Wherever you can find it, Amazon, eBay, Barnes and Noble, or maybe davidike.com if his site is up, because it was down some years back. He went through like censorship as well, because they don't want this type of information out there, the powers that shouldn't be, actually. So going over some other things, this, as you see, action-packed information. So as I said, to reiterate, this is how they infiltrate different organizations. That's why I showed that pyramid. Also, another documentary you can watch for free. It's called Change is on the Horizon. Change is on the Horizon. You can watch that. I did see all these documentaries. I actually did a test on them before I went live to see if they're still on YouTube, and yes, they are. You can watch them all on YouTube for absolutely free. Also, check out Pastor Lindsey Williams' DVD called Secrets of the Elite. Secrets of the Elite. Once again, I know it's a lot of information, but it will help you connect the dots. I remember some years back I was asking a friend of mine some information about how did these elites, how did they learn this information, and he referred me to, because to reiterate, I don't know everything. You know, I'm still inquisitive even as an adult, and he directed me. He said, check out Pastor Lindsey Williams' DVD called Secrets of the Elite. He says he didn't want to spoil it for me, but it goes over how the elites, some of them, of course, they were taught by their parents. They were sent to private schools by invitation only. Some people that are high up in the bloodline are sent to private seminars by invitation only. I found out that this famous person, I won't say his name, but he's over like one of the tech giants over a computer company. And I didn't even know he had any children at first. And I found out the school that his children go to stated they were exempt from Common Core. They said they were exempt from it. So they didn't have to, the kids who went to that school did not have to abide, the teachers there did not have to abide by the Common Core curriculum. And I did see a story on Channel 7 locally here in Detroit a couple years ago, some years back. Don't quote me on it exactly, I don't remember, but it was Kim Russell, one of their reporters. She's still with them, where they were trying to repeal Common Core in Michigan. And me and the friend of mine that put me up on this DVD said, good luck with that, because there's like an establishment cabal group that has a stronghold over the educational system that doesn't want to allow that, because the Illuminati, the powers that be, the ruling class, purposely want to use Common Core when they implemented this to dumb the children down, to have you control the newer generation. So I recommend it's best to homeschool your children if you can. I understand it's difficult, hard for people out there, but I recommend personally to homeschool your children, because they're doing these things on purpose to dumb the educational system down and forcefully control the newer generation. That's why it's a lot of programming going on, where they're weaponizing the children now through these different organizations that are, many of them happen to be funded by George Soros. And this is a fact too, by the way, because I heard Fact Check and Snoops.com. Fact Check was created to try to refute the truth and what the alternative media, what the independent media says. But I cross-reference information, so I can tell when Fact Check or Snoops is lying. And Fact Check was created as like a backup to Snoops or whatever. But I have a friend where his brother worked under George Soros's organization. He showed me recently, not too long ago. We went to Open Society. It's the foundation, Open Society Foundation, like .com. And my friend told me his brother's name. I'm not going to say it, of course, to keep it his brother private, but it was actually some years back. His brother is no longer active, and he's from a particular state down south. Because we had this friend, this guy that we knew, where his father happens to be a Freemason. He tried to tell both of us, well, how do you guys know that George Soros is funding these Black Lives Matter and these different groups? How do you guys know this for a fact? And we said his brother works for George Soros. You're trying to tell us, so see, they'll try to make you look stupid. So you have to challenge these people and let them know, I have facts, we have evidence, we got sources. This shows credibility. So that's why I showed these books earlier. When people try to talk, that's that government Uncle Tom Boule mess talk, because you're trying to control and keep people brainwashed and programmed. You know, I get tired of that, you know, because I shouldn't go into it, but this relative who like always tried to challenge me all the time. I'm like, dude, why don't you ever show any credibility and facts? And it's funny, I've been meaning to bring this up for a while. I told a friend of mine, I know I'm getting kind of hyped because this stuff, you know, I'm not triggered, but this stuff kind of gets, you know, to me in a way, in a good way. It fires me up. But I have this relative, I'm not going to say specifically, but he tries to challenge me when I'm explaining some things to another relative, always a lot of times combative or refutes what I'm saying, but never bring any credibility or facts. Or why don't you start a channel and do videos yourself if what I'm saying is not accurate? This is what I would suggest to this particular relative, but I'm not going to put them out there like that. But I noticed that they try to label me as being a conspiracy theorist, but this relative is into all this sci-fi type stuff. I was telling a friend of mine, I said, no pun intended, he's a fanboy as well. He's into like sci-fi, comic book heroes, you know, Superman, Batman, Iron Man, Avengers, Black Panther, all that type of stuff. They call that fanboy and fangirl stuff. And I'm like, you had a right to try to accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist, and you into all this made up garbage and stuff. Now, I'm not trying to knock it. I play video games and stuff too, but that stuff is made up fantasy. What I'm going over is factual stuff. So anything, you should be more awake to the truth. And you got the nerve to try to criticize me, and you into all that Ring of Power, that, what's the name of that, that movie, with that guy Gandalf. I can't even think. I thought I said where it has the book or whatever, but he's in all that fanboy, fangirl, comic book, superhero, sci-fi made up stuff. You know, what I'm talking about at least is real. I'm showing facts, showing books. And he interviews David Icke, by the way, cites, just like in high school, I'm comparing this to college to show you how astute and brilliant I am. He has a bibliography where, you know, teachers, instructors, you have to cite your sources when you do a research paper or whatever. You have to cite where your sources come from, what books, what newspapers, what magazine articles and stuff to show credibility, by the way. So that's why I'm showing solid action-packed validity. So I'm gonna kind of calm down, you know, there, but I'll just get hyped up. You know, I said I've been meaning to go over that for a while. Like, how can you call me a conspiracy theorist and you had a nerve? And other people out there, they into all these made up TV shows and goofy stuff that, now I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun, don't get me wrong, you know, but that's what you do in your downtime. This information that I'm going over from these books is more important than all of that other stuff, like Love and Hip Hop, American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, the show called Scandal. I'm just thinking of stuff off the top of the head. Empire, that show called Power. A lot of black women here talking on Facebook, and all this. This is made up stuff. Like I said, do that in your downtime. This information is more important. So I heard Roland Martin trying to say, you got these pseudo black scholars online, and sometimes I feel like this people, he's taking a personal shot at me, but I'm gonna say I don't know if he is or not. And other people, now I'm not a pseudo scholar, I'm very well studied. I'm one of the few people, a friend of mine that was going to school, college in California, got his degrees. He excelled further than what I have. And you know, it's information I know, I know that he doesn't know, information he knows that I don't know. But it doesn't mean that we take rank or we're better than the other. You know, we'll compare notes and share information. And he, once again, mentioned how I've shown books and providing credibility. So I'm not just this pseudo scholar or whatever. I'm very well studied and I know what I'm talking about. I read articles when I see the mainstream headlines from Yahoo News that's filtered by Associated Press to give you guys. I do cross-reference and compare notes with the alternative media, just like the mainstream media. So I can tell who's telling the truth, who's lying very well. Like this whole Russia thing I was telling a friend of mine, it's all bogus. By the way, this is because I'll give a short synopsis. I'm working on probably doing a separate video. But Loretta Lynch, who used to be the Attorney General under Obama, when Obama wiretapped Trump, he didn't have like a legitimate reason. So they needed to come up with, they felt the reason to give them justification to wiretap Trump. This is real, credible behind the scenes, but the mainstream media, who's in collusion with the cabal, such as CNN, the Criminal News Network, and MSNBC and the others, won't tell you the real information. Like with this whole Michael Cohen thing, it's all bogus, it's a farce. What they're doing. That's a separate thing with the whole Ginger Daniels thing I won't go touch into. But as far as the FISA memo, the wiretap, that was real. Obama, he was wiretapping because he felt Trump was a threat. That's why Obama met with all these rappers and entertainers and people ahead of time to weaponize them, to get everybody to be in this rebellion against Trump or whatever. And notice some of the types of things they were doing and didn't get in trouble. To me, it just shows the obsolete structure of our society. If I was president, I would always wiretap the next president. That's funny. But what's going on, I'm not going to go as in depth because I have to brush up myself to show you. I don't want to just spew, but the little bit that I know, they needed a reason. So they created this narrative to say that Trump was colluding with the Russians because Loretta Lynch, she even questions in some of the secret classified documents I hear that some were already redacted, but Trump is trying to get the Justice Department to release, which Rosenstein was supposed to release it. He disobeyed, you know, and other groups of the government, and the president has the authority to order them, and they are blatantly in defiance, which is highly criminal, highly illegal, because we had 8 years of Obama. He had served his time. I respected the office. He's out of there. The next guy is in. Even he said this is part of the process, you know, with Trump getting elected. It was no Russia collusion while he won in the landslide, 306 electoral votes. Nobody was hardly showing up to Hillary's rallies. And still, I heard some event in Toronto, people didn't hardly show up. You can look it up. Don't quote me on it. But to make a long story short, they needed a reason to wiretap Trump. So that's why they created this whole Russia, that he colluded with the Russians. They made that up, by the way, because it was highly illegal. I guess it's very serious with the FISA court and a warrant that was highly criminal. And there was other stuff and that was done with the foreign governments and how they contracted with Fusion GPS, by the way, and these different names, and how Comey, you know, helped cover up, you know, for Clinton during the time she was running. And, you know, that's all I'll leave it at. There's a lot more other stuff, scandals I could touch on. But, you know, just to show you that these deep state operatives, they, you know, collude with each other, and they don't want, just with the mainstream media and factcheckingsnoops.com, they won't report on certain types of information. I'm not saying you don't have flaws on the conservative side, because what liberals try to argue, I have a lot of liberals in my family, and women and stuff will say, well, at least years ago they were hanging us, the Ku Klux Klan were hanging us, and they were doing this, that, and other. But what does that have to do with nowadays? A lot of stuff has changed, and we still have things to work on as a society. Yes, prejudice, people being mistreated is wrong. Bigotry is wrong. But I'm looking at the bigger agenda that's going on, and a question I ask is, how is that stopping you from being, you know, a nurse, a lawyer, a doctor, a model, or going back to college? You know, Trump's racism. How is Trump's racism or the KKK? How is that holding you back? If you want to be a drug dealer, you can be that. In other countries, in China, certain things I just mentioned, and under socialist and communist governments, they control what you want to be. At least in a capitalism, you can go from a free market business. Well, let me start first. Socialism and communism have always failed historically, and collapsed. They've always failed or collapsed. Now, it might go good for a while for minorities temporarily as they take over and they have their deep state operatives from their regime that are trying to fight, jockey for positions of power, just like many of these liberal cities steal the money in city councils and stuff, you know. Be right back.
Global.
Put that in there. Back.
Radio checking. Lead at 0400.
Okay, but just like I was saying, and with going over communism and socialism, you have had, historically, it's always failed. You know, like I said, it might be going good a little while for people of color or minority classes, but historically, it always ends bad. And it's also been responsible for mass genocides as well. Look it up. Look up Lenin, of course, Hitler. He was a socialist. Mao, General Mao. Remember Tiananmen Square, the 60s, the students pro. And when Mao was so cold-blooded, he would call the people, say he wanted to hear your other side of the story, and he would just mow the people down and kill you. You know, Idi Amin was another one, dictator like this. They made the movie called Last King of Scotland, played by the actor Forrest Whitaker, who played in Black Panther, that came out earlier in the year. He played Last King. I still got to see that, but I get the concept. Based on Idi Amin, the dictator of Uganda at one time. Look how he was. He was ruthless. Always goes bad, never works. This is why the globalists, they also implant these dictators. They put them all in power. Someone says, to me, so okay, democide. Yep. Steven, yep, democide, genocide. They put like Mao went to Harvard, Kim Jong-un, the dictator leader over North Korea. Did you know he went to school in Switzerland? Now, why are these dictators, before they come into power, they're going to school in other countries? Osama bin Laden, I had a friend of mine that told me this. I didn't originally know this, but he spent time in one of the branches of the military. He said they actually have a school or training facility where they train these people before they go on to either become dictators or terrorists, like Osama bin Laden. He said that's how you train one. He said bin Laden went to this school called the School of Americas. Well, Saddam Hussein, he told me. So don't quote me on it. Just going by his word, because I would have to look more into it myself. But I get the concept, because I had another friend who's in the history, excellent historian, researcher, confirmed to me that General Mao, he went to Harvard. Well, how is it he became a dictator over China at one time and was going to school over here? So that shows how they have implants already over here that are shields before they go into becoming shields. Paid agents, thought police, bad actors. There's different levels, collaborators, minions, underlings, they're henchmen, gatekeepers, mainstream propagandists. That's like the media, CNN. They're minions for them. Jim Acosta, for example, Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper. He was former, they say, connected to CIA. It's not a coincidence these people are thought police, paid agents, shields, part of the globalist syndicate. It's a syndicate, criminal network, bad actors, different levels of the deep state. Look this up. Think. They want to keep you brainwashed and dumbed down. I'm going over facts here. So I got some other notes before I shut things down. I had a plethora of information I wanted to go over. I wanted to give you guys, I'm not playing, I wanted to give you guys action-packed information. The bailout crisis, okay? They can run the banking system already. Those documentaries I went over, plethora of enough information with that, even the Wizard of Oz info. Elites, okay, I went over that already. Their overall goal too is to reduce the world's population. Like the Georgia Guidestones, they want to make humans obsolete. They remember it's over 6 billion people on the planet. The Georgia Guidestone says they want to reduce the world's population down to like 500 million. Don't quote me on the exact number, but that means a lot of people gotta go. So I don't mean what you're part of. That means they want to kill, murder a lot of people. This the globalist syndicate, the ruling class elite. Their overall goal is to reduce the world's population, make humans obsolete for their Elysium class. They made a movie some years ago called Elysium. Look that up. That was a good movie, mainstream movie. Pecking order. They want to establish a pecking order, the ruling class. They're using the banking system as a weapon. They want to put, the reason they're bringing illegals over here, like you see with the migrant caravans. This is no disrespect to the people, by the way. I did give a disclaimer, so this video is not meant to be offensive, but this is part of their agenda. They're going to betray them and undocumented workers because they want to bring them over here. They've done this in other countries already. They want to get them on welfare. They want to destroy the middle class here because it's going to drive wages down. They've already done this in China. When Tim Cook, who is a globalist, part of the syndicate criminal network, sent Apple, they say Steve Jobs is turning over in his grave. Steve Jobs was actually awake to the truth, by the way. Some people believe they killed him. He found out. So credit to Steve. So it's not just like I'm trying to disrespect Tim Cook, the current CEO of Apple that's alive, but them moving the factories to China. They sold out with Google and Google's parent company, Alphabet, and they want to try to implement this social credit system. These people are wicked. They've already done this in China. They want to use this as their model. So this is why I'm going over this. I did give a disclaimer. You know, this is my opinions, but look this up for educational purposes. There's evidence on this. Especially check out AJ's channel. You know, who they got banned off of YouTube. You guys know who I'm talking about. I won't say his name. I'll let you guys figure out. Follow that man. I mean, you may not agree with everything he says, but he's trying to warn us. These people mean business. Okay? They want to get rid of the brick and mortar stores. You see the self-scan machines at the grocery stores. They're replacing us with robots, like the movie Terminator. The movie I, Robot with Will Smith played in some years ago. I had a former girlfriend. She picked up on that. She brought that movie up. Said similar to I, Robot. I said, yes, you're correct. So the mainstream movies, they help, you know, wake you up. They're pushing the homosexual agenda. Once again, no disrespect to LGBT, but I'm just saying that's used as an example. And the reason there's a lot of money that's funding in that, they want to social engineer, re-engineer, and change our genetics, our DNA. It's another deeper agenda down the line, but they want to usher in a more decadent, deplorable society. They want to push promiscuity. You know, they want to they're using that to break apart the family structure. They want to strip the guns under the, even from the police under the UN treaty. You know, that's what they were trying to do under Obama. It didn't pass through the Senate. Remember, he wanted to pass the guns, and then just recently, here in Detroit, I heard a story. There was some women on their way to church this past Sunday, happened recently, and some guy, he was doing something, attacking one of the women, and you know, she got her gun out, I guess one of them, and shot and killed the guy. Trying to make her way, they said, into the house, but she gave him a warning, told him to stop. I don't know, he was, from what I was reading, had put his hands on her, was trying to assault her. He came out of the blue when they were leaving out. They were getting ready to go to church. So this is where the Bible and the sword go hand in hand. Because you have a lot of liberals that believe, oh, we should ban the guns, you know, this, that, and other. But the police, I found out the update of the story, she didn't do any time in jail because it was legitimate self-defense. They okayed it. So, but the globalists want to make it the ruling class, like they've done in UK and other countries. They want to ban the guns to domesticate you, you know, so you can't defend or protect yourself. Show you how wicked. But they want to have their own private security, which many of these people who are calling for guns to be banned, and Hollywood actors that use guns in their movie, have private security, or they can afford private security. Think. Yeah. You see? It's an agenda at play. Ulterior motive, I would say. So I went over, they want to strip the guns even from the police under the UN treaty. They train and fund and create all the terrorist groups. Like I kind of went over earlier. Al-Qaeda, Assad Mujahideen, Muslim Brotherhood, Boko Haram, ISIS. They put dictators in office like Hitler, Mao. Mao went to Harvard. Idi Amin, who I mentioned. Mubarak, Mugabe, Muammar Gaddafi. Even though Gaddafi changed years later, he was trying to start a go-back currency for Africa. And they was like, they took him out. Like, we can't have this. He wasn't an angel at first because he was used by them. He was trained and used by them years ago. But he tried to change things around and help the sovereign people of Africa, the country as a whole, the continent. That's what it was going to be, this gold-back currency for them. And they were like, oh, no, we don't want you competing with us. Took him out, but they trained him. Central banks, that's why they want, in countries they don't have a central bank. Like I hear Iran was one of the last countries. Some other ones, they don't have their central bank in, but the majority of a lot of countries, they do. When they get their central bank there, then they get, you know, able to seize control just secretly. I won't go as in depth in that, but you guys get the concept. So these lists, you have to understand, MI5, MI6, that's the equivalent of our FBI, CIA, Russian, KGB, Israeli, Mossad. They're all linked worldwide. But remember, there's bad actors they use to infiltrate. I'm not saying all these people are necessarily bad guys. Some of these guys are light workers, so don't get me wrong. You gotta need to watch the whole video. But they use, a lot of times people sell out when they join these organizations too. So you have to be careful because they are used to push the New World Order agenda. Those Navy SEALs were murdered some years ago under Obama's administration. Remember, they put those SEALs on a helicopter, and then remember with the incident in Benghazi, some SEALs wanted to go in and help Ambassador Stevens. You know, extortion. Someone put, yep, Steve Steven, extortion 17. Unfortunately, yep, they use extortion tactics. So these people, as you can see what I've gone over, they don't have our best interest at heart. They're malevolent people. They don't have, once again, to reiterate, they'll pretend to mean well on the surface in the public's eye. Like a certain individual I mentioned where they put on this facade, but they're actually in the closet behind the doors. They're not who they really are. They've sold a lot of, especially their own people, out. I won't say, but I already kind of mentioned the name of one of them. They've already sold our people and other people out because they're operatives, they're globalists, part of the globalist syndicate. Some of them may not be in the ruling class, but would classify as gatekeepers or underlings or henchmen or minions, collaborators. That's why they're getting book deals. They're being rewarded. Like people in Hollywood, you talk about 9/11, like Sean Penn, they want to mess up your movie career, for example. Or with Stanley Kubrick, with his movie Eyes Wide Shut. You want to show our rituals in your movie and we tell you to cut a certain scene out, we're going to get rid of you like they did to him, sadly. But thank you, Stanley, for, sharing with the world through that movie what goes on at these mansion parties in Hollywood. And Cat Williams, they want to mess with your career when you expose things. You see how wicked these people are? They try to pretend to be benevolent. They're not benevolent at all. Don't believe that. By no means are they benevolent. So they pretend to mean well on the surface in the public's eye. In actuality, they're disguising their true intent behind their New World Order 666 agenda. Don't trust these people. So how are you able to connect the dots with certain individuals are cozy with each other? Birds of a feather flock together. Birds of the same feather flock together. Yeah. Something to think about. Go back to Hurricane Katrina. Remember, a certain individual was cozy with Michelle at McCain's funeral. How they go lovey-dovey and all nice, but they're on opposite sides of the spectrum. He was a Republican, she's a Democrat, liberal, but they are ganged up against Trump. But there's these people that say, oh, they're part of the left-right paradigm. Trump's an operative. But the difference is Trump, he's an outsider. This is facts. Because if he wasn't, then he would have been at McCain's funeral. He would have been cool with them. But why was she cool with this dude who Kanye spoke up against? And they trying to call Kanye a coon. But Kanye said years ago he don't care about black people. Well, you remember what happened with Hurricane Katrina. They dumped the bodies in the ocean. They ordered, deep state operatives ordered levees to be blown up. Because remember, military are trained, taught to follow orders. But some of them said they're not going to follow or take orders that are wicked, that go against humanity. Or police officers that said they're not going door to door to take people's guns. They're true patriots standing up. To show you how these evil, these wicked, these globalists try to disguise their agenda. That's why they push a lot of these false flag events to get the way people's minds, consciousness, to control the narrative. But secretly, they have an ulterior motive. Many of these people are inherently corrupt, too, by the way. So you have to watch these documentaries. I went over, check out Endgame. Has like a green logo. You can watch it for free on YouTube. Check out that documentary called Endgame by you-know-who. Check out Zeitgeist, all the Zeitgeist documentaries, part 1 through 4. Check out Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert. Check out Esoteric Agenda. You want to check out Jason Bermas's movie Invisible Empire. Check out Invisible Empire by Jason Bermas. I already went over Ring of Power, Empire of the City. I already went over Monopoly Men, Money Masters, and what's that documentary called? The Secret of Oz. Yep. Fall of the Republic. Check out Fall of the Republic by your boy. I went over a lot of information. With that said, you can follow me at Dorsey's Resource on Facebook, Twitter at Dorsey's Resource, all together, one word. Oh, thank you, Jordan Maxwell's work. Yeah, he's excellent. The Godfather, aka that's Jordan Maxwell's nickname. Also, Michael Tsarian. Some of these people were before my time, but I had friends. Well, I told them they thought I wasn't paying attention to what they were telling me throughout the years. But check out Michael Tsarian. He's a good historian as well, and he knows Jordan. They were good friends with each other. Michael Tsarion, spelled with a T-S-A-I-R, T-S-A-R-I-O-N, Michael Tsarion. He's a historian, like, from back in the day. Yeah, some of these people used to come on, like, specials or whatever, like Discovery Channel, History Channel, you know, just to give you guys a kind of a synopsis. Some of my older friends who helped me connect the dots when I had questions, because I was inquisitive. I wanted to know the truth. Part of Operation Wake Up. When they were helping wake me up, now I'm giving back to help wake you guys up. But thank you for bringing Jordan up. He's a guy they call the Godfather. Excellent information. The reason these different individuals will help you connect the dots. Once again, to wrap things up, I want to thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. You can follow me at Dorsey's Resource on Twitter, all together as one word. On Facebook at Dorsey's Resource. And on YouTube at Dorsey's Resource. Until next time, guys, I appreciate you for sharing your time with me. Don't forget to thumbs up. Remember, it lets the haters know, even if you don't totally co-sign what I'm saying, it lets the haters know you agree with me overall and you want to see good content. You know, I'll be back, and may the force be with you. Take care.